Welcome to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. So glad you've chosen to join me today. And with me is Mike Forgie. And Mike, if you'll introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, and we'll get started.
And I'm Mike. I own an agency called NextStep Connect. We focus on local search and AI optimization. I'm based out of New Jersey, but I'm everywhere, man. I'm kind of a nomad, hop around a lot.
Fantastic. Glad to have you here today.
I'm happy to be here, man.
Great. Well, Mike, it's good to have you, and we had a great conversation, when we first met about this whole AI and search
Yeah.
environment that we're in and how things have changed. And so we're going to have a great conversation today. Well, let's kind of talk a little bit about your background because search and AI have come together. So tell us how you got started. What kind of led you here to begin with? And then we'll go from there.
My story starts like pretty young. When I was a teenager, I did promotions for a concert company. And I think that kind of hit this community aspect for me. And as I was getting older, I went to school for PR and journalism, which I mean, that goes hand in hand with now all the search and the AI optimization. Like PR became a huge asset for people. Journalism, obviously, the content writing. And I ended up working at a search engine optimization agency. Quickly from that, I just knew this is like kind of what I wanted to do was building communities, helping local businesses, and went from there, started my own kind of like freelancing, and that took off. And I was like, all right, it's time to take this seriously. Ended up being a white label agency for many years. That's why a lot of Next Step Connect, my agency, wasn't really online, wasn't really doing much. Last year really is when we started going direct to customer because I saw the opening and was like, all right, I think it's time that we go direct to customer. And also, I just didn't like doing sales. Now I like it. I kind of figured that part out, and that was nice. So yeah, we focused on that and really love like service provider niches and like anything that is really local, where we're gonna be helping out a community, helping someone that's like going to be part of their community. It's as much as it's digital, we still have, real life to deal with.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this local aspect because this is really where our conversation is going to go today. And when we're looking at local marketing and talking search engine optimization, we're talking AI, we're talking all of these pieces that make the local piece kind of unique, kind of complex. There's a ground game that you have to play. There's also a high level game you have to play in the online space. Let's talk about what makes that unique. How do you play the game well in the digital space? How do you play the game well on the ground? What's kind of your take on that?
To the digital space, local, still people are looking at maps, and maps has gotten even more powerful with Ask AI. I made a lot of use out of it on my last trip. It was great. Ask AI did a great job in the maps thing. So that's a whole new aspect where you can really talk to what the maps results are. That means it's even more in the real world making sure that information's there, making sure that you're getting the reviews, trying to help people leave a better review. You don't want to review gate or do things like that, but you want to be like, hey, what did you like? Why did you like it? And what's a unique experience you had with it? Really helps. Think about you're looking for a pet-friendly hotel, which I was doing. You want someone to leave a review like, okay, I have a Corgi Dotson Chihuahua mix. Yeah, I had my Corgi with me and the hotel catered completely. The pet fee was cheap. Yeah, yeah, and you try to leave something good, like what was the experience? That really kind of ties in with that digital and real world aspect. And then you got to go off of that. Now, AI, people are going to ask like ChatGPT in the chat, not necessarily in um, just maps. So how do you optimize for that? And it's pretty much the same as local SEO is it's not anything new. And I'm really excited that there's some incredible like SEO influencer type or like professionals on YouTube that are digging into this and telling people, hey man, this is not new. You just have to be legit and do it proper. You're not optimizing for AI, you're optimizing for best experience.
Exactly. You brought up something that I really want us to kind of back up on because I
Sure.
think a lot of our listeners don't know that that's a thing. And you brought this up. So Ask Maps is something that Google rolled out at I/O 2026. And it's a new feature on Maps where you can ask questions on the Google Maps search. And it's interesting you talked about this. I used this uh, while I was flying back from Florida a few weeks ago because I was putting together a client dinner and I was looking for a place near a hotel and I needed a place that would serve X number of people that serve this kind of cuisine at this time of day, blah, 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 blah. And I had this criteria, but the AI I was asking was on Google Maps. And that's a new feature that wasn't available. And you brought this up, Mike, because what Google is really moving towards is it's a decision engine. Not a search engine anymore. It's a decision-making engine. So I kind of like you you were talking about that, but I'd like us to park there a little more to help our audience kind of think this through as a local business owner. How do I really want to use that component of the local maps and this Ask Maps piece to help my customer make decisions? Like, what should I be doing? What are some of those steps that I could be feeding into my data layers to help those folks make decisions?
So there's a couple ways of looking at this. I would say it's not just like a decision engine. It is still aggregating and pulling information. Google's biggest it makes its money on ads, right? That's what you think. In reality, it's making its money on having the best answers and being information and delivering the best information when people are searching for it. Otherwise, that search engine doesn't work. Same with AI. It's the AI, in most cases, like ChatGPT. I believe it's Ed Sturm had a show with David Quaid. He said um, it's a consensus engine. So it's going out and gathering a consensus. Now, I believe that's very true for like, hey, when you're on an LLM like ChatGPT and Claude, it's gathering information and coming up with the best consensus for you. For Google, um, if you're asking in Maps, that consensus is coming straight from a little bit more of the direct source, and maybe I'm going to say it's probably going to be pulling mainly from like the site and the reviews and not going too far outside of that. You can't quote me on that because I haven't really broken down where it's getting those sources from. But when I was personally asking it, it's a good example. When I was personally asking, it would say people often say this. I don't know if you noticed that when it
Hmm.
would be like, oh, people often say this about it. And I'm like, okay, that's seems like it's mainly coming from the reviews. And it might have been the way I was asking because I was asking for specific like pet friendly and cleanliness in specific areas, which is pretty cool. So to optimize for that, it's very much like that. I feel like for Gemini, Google Maps, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. Make sure you are putting your information correctly on there, filling out your services and your products with the information people are looking for. Make sure that's on your maps. Make sure it relates to something that's on your website so you can back it up if, the search engines crawlers go and they're like, all right, cool, you mentioned this service, it's also on your page and it's elaborated with more content. That's that keyword optimization. And I mean, trying to garner reviews and it's tough. I know everyone fights me on reviews like, oh man, I ask again. Some people are great at it. They're like, scan this QR code, leave me a review. And they're great at it. Other people aren't as much, but other people advocating for the service that you're trying to push really does help.
Exactly. Yeah, you bring up something really good that I think so many local businesses miss. You've got to tell more about what you do. You got to keep talking.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I'm doing some refresh on some of our clients' websites, and thin content about a service is not going to help you. Expound, answer more of the questions that your audience is asking, and I think that's something you're diving into. Back to your story about the dogs. You had all these questions, cleanliness and the environment they're going to be in, and
Yeah.
that's really what we're seeing with the AI analysis is when you're asking a question in the search engine, the AI is looking at, well, what are the 12 other questions behind it that you're likely thinking about? And that's what it's doing. It's analyzing what else are you likely to ask. Um, so let's kind of talk about your experience, working with your clients and how you've helped marry these things together. How are you helping them think through what is your customer out there looking for? What is your customer out there asking? How do I help you become the most visible, most dominant player in your market?
So the biggest one is like, what's their problem? How are we going to be the solution? If someone's looking for your service, it's not because they it's no non-reason. It is a particular reason. Even we could label it a problem, but like the curiosity is the problem. Is now I want this thing. How do I solve that solution for wanting it? You need to find the person that supplies it. That's a big way of like starting. Hey, what do they want? And that's easy. I like to use this. This is a really good example that no matter what industry you're in, and it's kind of I feel like anyone we're all gonna hit it at some point is real estate is a great one. You could look for a real estate agent. Most of us know 100 of them, especially on like our social media feeds and stuff like that. Now there's particulars. So some agents are rental agents, some are commercial agents. Do you see it spreading in niches? Now, how each of those has different problems. How do you talk to that person? That's where that specificity on landing pages happens, especially if someone's looking for something very particular. If you become a multifamily special sales, like duplexes, if that's like your game, is that you always sell people who want a duplex or like something that they're gonna have an investment, something like that, you have to really solve those problems for people. One of the ones that like we love are first time home buyers. They need information. Now, what happens in AI is it takes a consensus of information and delivers it. Sometimes it doesn't cite you. It just says, hey, here's the programs, or it cites like the government programs, which is okay, like it's going to do that. That's tough. But often, if you become the voice of like those types of buyers in your area, it starts to recommend you, especially if people are trying to find that solution. I am a first-time home buyer in this area and I really want this type of house in this price range. The government sites aren't really doing that, but you as the agent can deliver that. You start getting cited. So those are ways of deep diving into a problem and a solution. Another way of doing that is very popular. The people also ask, because you ask, how do people know what these people want? And like going down like when I did it, it was the next question. How does the AI say, oh yeah, and you're also thinking about this? I'm gonna assume this was when I was doing it. I was looking up pet-friendly hotels. It started mentioning the pet fees. And I'm sure it's because that was the next questions that people were asking, or it's just a related content, or it's in content on the website and it was giving me the pet fees. So almost assuming the next step or typing in those keywords and those queries and seeing what people also ask and adding that to your content. Now, you said that it can't be thin content. We have to define that because thin and informational versus thin and fluff is different. If you're on a website, you don't necessarily always need 2,000 words to explain something. It's overkill at some point. You can always add to it. I think when you want to add valuable content is reviews can add to more content with the keywords in it, case studies, things like that. on that page are great, but just adding fluff is not, it doesn't do anything. If you're like 400 or 500 words and you're really answering it and you're the best answer for it, you're getting clear. It can do the same thing for you as, 2,000 words. So really thinking about like the user in these things and what's going to get that solution, get the uh, answer to the problem really out there.
Mm. Yeah, you bring up something that I think is really important in this environment is being the topical authority.
Yeah.
And that was critical. I loved what you brought up, and I think real estate was a great example for this, is there may be other sources, but they're not really tailored to the local market. So they'll answer the question, but they're not the localized expert.
Hmm.
And that's the real opening for, the realtor, the contractor, the insurance agent is to build that authority, that expertise around themselves and become the local expert on that topic and building that topical authority. So I loved what you brought up there is becoming the answer person, the go-to answer person that the search engine, the LLM starts to cite because you're the one that keeps answering the question. You've got the content out there. And that brings up something, Mike, I think is important. We're talking about the website, but there's other places to become the answer person, right? Like
Yeah. We're
where
seeing
else
it.
can we be building that topical authority?
This is, I know, you know, I think it was just a matter of time before social media became like the next step of this iteration with branding, which is great. Obviously, like, we control the content that gets put out there, the same way we control the content that's getting put on your website. I still think a website is a great place. You control it, you own it. Do not assume I'm saying just replace everything with social media. People are having great results with social media. But even Google is now giving you traffic, like and recording traffic. One of the things that just came up is the Google Search Console now will be reporting what keywords brought up your social media accounts and created clicks, which is like that's not even website related, but they see it as people are typing things into search engines and clicking on social media. And if you tell it that, okay, we own that asset, I want the data on that as well. That's very big, especially since AI likes to cite social media, YouTube videos, which I mean, so Google owns, but those are big assets. And it's another thing that you feel you have to do. But a lot of this stuff can go, I mean, 80/20, like this, what we're doing right now. Now, it could be a YouTube video. It could be cut up into shorts. It can go into like YouTube shorts. Then it can go into real social posts. This whole thing can get transcribed, made into a like blog post. Then also we can put it on podcast networks as just audio podcasts. Then we can go and take it and be like, all right, what are the best details that we learned from that? Run a top 10 list. That's now another blog post, but it's also an infographic. These are things that like once you start thinking of it, it's like, oh, this is a flywheel. So it seems like a lot because now we're like we have to add social media. And it's like, all right, how do I make this a flywheel? How do I get something authentic? This conversation is probably like the best form for almost any local business. Just talk about your business. Talk about it with clients, talk about it with other professionals. Like, you don't have to make a podcast, but you can make one of these videos and just talk about it. And then you can go, hey, I talked to with another local professional, and this is what we thought. That becomes all that type of stuff. So it really works. And it's becoming more, how can we be authentic? And like we said earlier, how do we be part of the communities we want to be part of?
Yeah, I think that's it's so critical. We talk often in our environment about the ecosystem. And you look at the Google business profile, it's asking, what are your social channels? It's pulling in that information. Again, Google at I/O 2026, talking about YouTube's a data layer for agentic search. Now you have Ask YouTube, just like you have Ask Maps,
Yeah. See?
so it's the same principle. And I love what you said though, is this repurposing. And so now you're establishing your authority, your topical authority, multiple channels. And I like to talk in signals. That AI is looking for signals. Okay, who's the expert? And where can I find those signals? Okay, there's website signals, there's video signals, there's podcast signals, signals everywhere, and it's your name keeps showing up in all these signals. Uh, you must be somebody we need to pull and cite and reference, and that's kind of the name of the game. You brought up something though that I think is also significant, and we didn't quite really broach it yet, but we have to think about customer mentality and buyer mentality. And
By your intent.
and that's it. And I laughingly tell my clients, let's be honest. Your customer starts their day at 7 in the morning on the toilet with their smartphone in hand, and the buying journey starts there.
Yeah.
Um, and the truth is, they're scrolling and they're probably watching short form videos while they're on the toilet. So, are you there?
Yeah.
And so let's talk about this idea of omnipresence when it comes to local marketing and being the dominant player in your local market.
Okay, so this is it, it's going to be tough for everyone because you're going to immediately say like, okay, now I have to do X, Y, Z, fill these things up. Um, not every market is dominated by some, you know, mecca influencer in your niche. Some of it's like your market's not on maybe Instagram. Your market's not on TikTok. You don't absolutely need to be there if they're not there. Your supporting content should be on where they are. It's a great way to just make it easy to decide where you want to post and what kind of content you want to make. Um, think about it this way. Your market, if they're, older, maybe they don't want to be on TikTok. They're not sitting on TikTok all day. They're still on Facebook and Instagram. You don't have to waste your time with it. AI and search is gonna still find your social content and do that, but your website's going to be an important asset. So those people are also going on websites and YouTube's. That's where you're gonna really want to create it. And the worst that happens is at this point, there's so many things that let you schedule posts and make it easy. If you make one reel that's short, probably going to be pretty good on most. Just if you want to keep them active. Um, like even my agency stuff, I'll admit like some stuff is just repurposed and pushed back out there and just keeping them fresh and supporting content. I'm not looking to become, super famous on LinkedIn for my agency. I'm just like, hey, I like keeping the content out there. That's really important. But my market is on LinkedIn. My market is on a couple other social networks. My market's probably on every social network, but I'm not going to spend all my time just making sure I do that. I'm going to burn out until I have an entire team operating and pulling all this content for me. It's not worth it. 80/20 it. Find where your stuff's going to be the the best like made. Who really honestly like do you need 1 million followers on Facebook if you're a plumber? Like that maybe the insurance niche could be, that could be someone that's like, hey, as you're growing older, these are things you have to understand in the market. It's changing. This is important for you. This is the health insurance market. This is life insurance, and people want to keep up with that. Like maybe you're interesting and some people want to follow it. Finance. You're a finance person, man. That's really good. That's on almost every network. People want to know. People want money. People want to save that money. People don't want to be poor when they're older. But those are things that you kind of want to maybe put out there some reels and stuff. But I think overwhelming yourself thinking you have to be on all of them. Think of where your people hang out and if they're going to be following you. Putting your content out there, I mean, you're making content on the website, reshare it, put it out there to make sure that like your things look active because if they don't look active, people might be like, well, what do I even hire them for? They're not, are they even open? But other than that, I don't want to stress people out by being like, you have to do all this because at one point it was go on Facebook, go on Instagram, post something up, spend an hour commenting on people's stuff. Then you're not getting the 100 likes on your what to do when your toilet's clogged. You know, that was stressful. That like didn't really work for a lot of companies, and now it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't really work. Like we
That's
don't
right.
need that.
That's right. And that's so true. You figure out where you're best, and I think this is really the key to this. Know who your real audience is. Who is your most ideal customer,
Yeah.
and where are they at? And build around them. And I see too many business owners that they haven't even thought through that yet. You're not out for everybody. Figure out who it is you really want to work with and figure those people out and focus on them and then move forward. Let's talk about something you brought up a minute ago with websites. You know, we are in a zero click environment. Um, Google's pretty honest about that. They'd rather keep people in their ecosystem than sending them to your website. Now they will still send them there, but they really like to send people to the Google business profile and kind of keep them in their environment because that's where they make money. They're not ashamed to tell us that, and we've seen that with generative AI overviews that when those overviews fire, clicks to websites have dropped off significantly over the last couple of years. So that being the case, for the business owner that's listening to us today, where should they be thinking in terms of as they position themselves online? The website is still important. There's no mistake about that. But what other components of their ecosystem should they be thinking about in kind of a priority order?
Ooh, that's tough. The priority order. I'm gonna say like if you own the asset, like if you own your website, it's probably the best thing you could do because it is your website. Like, something goes that we always say is if a social media, I mean, I guess it's since social media pretty much started, if that network goes down, you're done.
Mhm.
At one point, TikTok was threatened to be gone, and people were freaking out. That could happen.
Yeah.
Um, so owning the asset's really important. I would say for me, the way I look at it, I would say site and for local Google Business Profile are my two biggest ones. Um, Man, this is gonna sound so dumb. I've been trying to work on an article called Green, Google Rules Everything Around Me. Because think about it this way, if you did your website, your Google business profile and YouTube, you're working on Google and you really want to work in their environment. I mean, you have social there, you have like something that's entertaining with YouTube and Google's own maps, which is insanely important. Those are my biggest assets that I think people should put out there. The reason why I say Google Business Profile is like so big is because it's the only network that's really out there that's like that and so highly verified that goes out to so many other sources that other people cite and use. Now, that's that's going to be the buyer intent stuff. Like you don't need to show up for like that map doesn't need to show up for how to unclog my toilet. It needs to show up for emergency plumber near me.
Yeah.
Like that's where it works out. That's where that map is there. And you should be focusing on that because from that, you're getting analytics for who's calling you,
Mhm.
who's clicking to your website from there. It's really important assets. I do think if you really want to make this in a narrower scope, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself, look at the networks that Google works on and make sure you own those assets. One, your website, which is going to end up being yours, but Google Business Profile, and then going off that, like I'm going to say YouTube if you really want to dabble in like a social media type thing, because that could be your branding out there. But go into analytics, Google Analytics, that will tell you what AI, like what LLMs drove traffic. It tells you that, that's source. Here's Google Search Console. If you focus on those a lot, you're going to get a lot of information that's getting spilled out to other places.
Yeah, I think that's critical. And you bring up something important too, is study your data. Make data-driven decisions. Don't just go with what you heard somebody else talk about, but study the data. Let data, really inform what you're doing, and your data will tell you an awful lot about what your next best step is. And it sounds like that's really kind of how you guide your decision process as well, letting that data tell you, here's our next best step. This is what people are actually doing.
Yep. This is, and I think about this as like, uh, back again to Google Search Console. Its job is to tell you like the health of your website in Google's eyes. Now, it also tells you what keywords and terms or searches, whatever, are bringing traffic to what pages. If they're including what keywords brought up your TikTok and got you in like views, did those keywords relate to something that can turn into an ROI? Is it building your authority? Now, they're just releasing this now, and it's going to be interesting to see these like, all of these people that do basically data analysis all the time. If they're like, hey, that builds your topical authority because your TikTok is bringing something that's like a how-to, but it's bringing people to your site and your topical authority is jacking up and it's helping you local. That would be very interesting. So I think that stuff is like understanding data. Um, it's they're trying to feed it to you. Sometimes it is blocked. They have the not set stuff on Google Analytics, which we don't have to get too into right now, but it's out there. You can get a pretty good idea of what's working for you and what's not.
Good. Now let's kind of talk, kind of to bring this conversation full circle. So you've got the visibility, you've studied your data, you know what's bringing people to you. How do you make sure you capture those people and get them to become converting customers? So this is the other place that I see things break down. People do all the right steps to get somebody to their doorstep, but then they miss the step of actually asking them, "Would you be my customer?"
Um, we'll take this from a another like plumbing one. If you're an emergency plumber, people aren't filling out a form. You emergency plumber, your phone number, big, bright call to action. That's not the same color as your background. That's not the same color. It is the on the spectrum of colors, it's the opposite of the spectrum of your standard color. If you're, like green, orange is a great one. Blue, red is a great one. That's a good call to action color, and that's your phone number. They click that, they call you. Because if you're an emergency plumber, they have an emergency, they need that solution not in the morning when that form gets checked and you're checking emails. They need it now. So make it easy. Make sure your phone number on your Google business profile is correct. Not just for that reason, but for in case Google checks to see if you're an active business and if that you're actually open during your hours. They will call to check to see if you're actually. Some people are like, "Oh, I'm open 24 hours," and they don't answer their phone, and then Google's like, "Those aren't your hours of operation." It's a bad signal. So make sure your contact information is correct. One, test it every now and then. See if you're getting the emails, your form's working, your phone number's working. Those are big ones. And I mean, it's work on customer courtesy. I just talked to somebody else, another agency owner who told me that they did a test and they were doing a quality assurance with their clients, and the person answered the phone and was like, "Hey, And it's like, that's what?
Yeah.
I call and you say, hey, I got the wrong number right away. Makes an awkward first impression. So those quality assurance things. I'd say also if someone's on your website, give them exactly what to do. We're all distracted. We have to admit it. We're all kind of distracted. Sometimes we're burnt out and we're like, all right, like maybe it's not an emergency. It's something I'm interested in. Well, give them the next step. Tell them exactly what to do. Try to get their information so you can follow up with them. Do not spam them. You spam them, you get put on that do not call. Enough people start marking you as spam, you're done. That phone number's dead. You're getting blocked. That thing's gonna go blacklisted. So just respect people. Think about everyone is your neighbor. Do right by your neighbor.
Yeah, I think it's so critical. We want to make it easy for that prospect, but
Make
I
it
see it so many times. The website's a brochure. We're not helping that person become our customer. So phone numbers clearly present, easy to navigate. And I think the other thing a
oh,
lot of business owners forget is so much traffic is mobile. So you've got to be thinking mobile first.
oh, of
Um,
course.
how easy is this thing to navigate on the phone, click to call, all of those functions. So, Mike, any final thoughts you have for our audience today? Anything you want to put out there?
Man, a lot's changing right now. Like we just said, we have the Ask Maps, we have Ask YouTube. They're adding a lot to Search Console to track things. I know, it's stressful. Take a little bit of time to understand your market. Really think about your community. The things that you could do right in your community are going to help you out a lot. I'd like to there's a big, I mean, backlinks became a big subject. It used to be, I need a backlink from Forbes. That is like the best thing you can get. And yes, they are. But also for local, it's not Forbes. It's your Chamber of Commerce and sponsoring events so that you get local links that are saying, we absolutely love this company for, bringing this to you. And, if the local, say it's a local like sporting organization, they might have a ton of authority, a ton of people viewing their website because they want to sign their kids up and they have great authority. If you're a sponsor of those types of things, it's going to help you. Um, Really try to be involved in your community and getting out there, making sure you're trying to help people next door. I really think that as the world got big, the internet, social media, the world got very big. We all know everything about what's happening across the world. We know the weirdest, craziest islands that have only raccoons on them in other parts of the world. And it's like great, but like what's going on downtown right now? What that Raccoon Island's pretty cool. But there's things that are going on downtown that everyone can benefit from. It's your community, it's your neighbor. Let's try to like be a little bit more, a little bit more part of our areas and taking care of each other. That's where your emergency plumber is coming from. He's not coming from out of nowhere, another state away, just because he's an influencer. He's coming from down the street. He probably goes to the same supermarket you go to.
Yeah,
Things like that. Like take care of him. That's what's cool.
yeah, I think that's so critical. Have a good ground game.
Yeah. I
Have a good
mean,
ground game.
I'm not saying go door knock and bother neighbors, but be friendly. They got to
Yeah.
know what you're doing. How many people do you know don't know what you do for a living?
Mhm.
Man, it's like I forget I've been the SEO guy, the marketing guy around me for so long and to still like get introduced like that, which is great. But I'm sure all the new people that move into my community have no idea who I am. And if they do, some of them have no idea what I do. And it's like, oh, you got to remind people you know, just got to remind people, hey, this is who I am and this is what I do.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, if somebody wants to learn more about you, learn more about your agency, where can they do that?
I really enjoy posting on LinkedIn only because it is about business. It's even if it's just me putting ideas out there, it's where I've been posting and spending more of my time. Um, I also did not like the volatility that Instagram had for a while, so I kind of got off that and Facebook. So I think if you want to connect with me on social, probably one of the best places to do it. You can go on nextstepconnect.com. You will see a very interesting colored button, and it has a very interesting number on it where you can talk to me. Just like you
Excellent.
said, you'll find that it's not an emergency one, so it's not like blasting you in the face. You're gonna find it, I promise you. Um, Go on there. That's a great way to connect with me. Keep an eye out because I have been working on some strategies to get more video out there. This is one of the reasons why I love doing podcasts, is it kind of gets me this conversation was incredible. This is stuff that I love to post about and get really authentic content out of. So keep an eye out on that. You'll see a couple of other videos getting posted up on social, but the main one, hit me up on LinkedIn, hit me up on my website. You can contact me. I love to talk to people. So don't feel like you're a bother.
Fantastic. Mike, thanks for joining us today. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to having you with us on our next episode.